Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Myself Mudasir Bhat from SRM Welkin Higher Secondary School, Sopur. I am here as an assistant teacher. Today we are going to discuss about the topic that is federalism, which is the second topic of our political science text of class 10. So political science, we already have discussed about this topic, that is the political science, and after that we have discussed about the power sharing. Now this is the next topic, that is the federalism. So in federalism we will simply discuss about the meaning of federalism, types of federalism, then features of federalism. First of all, we will discuss about the meaning of federalism. What does federalism mean? Federalism is a system in which it is a form of government in which power is shared between a central authority and its constituent units. Central authority constituent units. Central authority means the apex authority of a country, that is the central government. Okay, so the constituent units means the subordinate groups of the authority, that is central authority. These constituent units, they have been known by the different names in the different countries. Like in India, they are known as states. In some of the countries, like in Pakistan, they are known as the provinces. In some of the countries, they are known as the regions, like Belgium, etc. So when the power is shared between the central government and the state governments or the constituent units, the system is known as the federalism. So now we'll talk about the types of federalism. So in this topic, we simply discussing about the federalism, how it that what is the main purpose of this federalism. But you know that before going to discuss about the main features of the federalism, we are supposed to discuss about the types of the federalism. So in types of federalism, we have the two types of federalism. One, it is known as coming together federation, and second, that is holding together federation. First of all, we'll say that what is the coming together federation. So coming together federation is a system of federation in which that the different constituent units or the different states combined together, they form a bigger unit. Like we'll talk about the USA. So if you talk about the USA, there are approximately 51 states. These states come together to form a bigger unit. So when they form a bigger unit, so they have the central government as well as the state governments or the constituent governments. But both of these governments are equal powerful. Equal powerful in the sense that the powers which the central government possesses, the state government also possesses those powers. Then why there is a need to have the state governments? If there is a central government, if there is a state government, then why there is a need to have the central government, and then why there is a need to have the state governments? So first of all, we talk about that is the coming together federation. In coming together federation, we see that if any law passed by the central government becomes applicable to every constituent unit or any part of the country, then the state governments do not need to make a separate law on that. But if the law remains controversial in any part of the country, in any state or in any region, then that state government has its own powers that they can legislate or they can make the laws on that subject of their own. So it means that the central government will not force that the state government, that you cannot make the law. It means that the subjects are in the hands of both the governments, the state governments and the central government. So this is the coming together federation. Now the second is the holding together federation. In holding together federation, the power is divided between the central government and the state government, but there are specific areas or the jurisdictions wherein the central government has its own powers to legislate and the state governments have their own powers to legislate. If we talk about India, India comes under the holding together federation. In holding together federation, like we know that as per the Constitution of India, Indian powers or Indian administrative powers or the taxation powers or the other judicial powers have been divided between the state governments and the central government. So if we talk about India, we know that we have the different, the areas where the powers have been divided between the central government and the state government. So that is known as the union list. The second one, that is known as the state list. There is some other lists, they will be discussed in the next time, but simply if we talk about the union list and the state list. In union list, only the state government has the powers to legislate or to make laws. So they are the subjects of the national importance, wherein the law passes by the union list through the union list will be applicable to each part of the country. So it means that there is no, relaxation in applying those powers in any part of the country. So it means that that becomes a rule of law, which will be applicable to every part of the country. It means that if we talk about the defense, if we talk about the communication, if we talk about the currency, so they are some of the matters which lie only in the hands of the central government. So it means that when the law passed by the central government is passed by the legislature, the apex legislature of the country, that is the Parliament of India, it becomes applicable to every part of the country. There are other provisions also, like that there were some states which were known as the special states, while in the law that will be passed by the central government will be not directly applicable, like it was previously the state of Jammu and Kashmir, unless and until the government of state and Jammu and Kashmir will not pass it in their own legislature or they will not give their consent. But that in most probably the law passed by the central government becomes applicable to every part of the country. Now the next thing is that is the state list. So in the state list we see that the powers that has been given to the state governments to make their own laws. So while the central government will not intervene, while the central government will not make any alteration or any change in making the laws, the state governments only have the powers to make their own laws. So that is called the holding together federation. So it means that in some areas the state governments do not have the authority or they do not have the powers to make their own laws. Only the central government can make their laws. So the law passed by the central government will be applicable to every part of the country, and while the states have been given the law will be only applicable to that state while the legislature of that state passes. If we talk about the Rajasthan, if we talk about any state of the country, if they pass any law pertaining to any subject which has been mentioned in the state list, that law will become only applicable to that state. So this was regarding the types of federalism, that is the coming together federation and the holding together federation. So the next thing is that is the features of federalism. So that is features of federalism. So what we see that what are the features of the federalism? The first and the most important feature of the federalism is that there are two or more tiers of the government. That's the levels of the government. So if we talk about that, there is the central government, the state government. In some countries, there are the next level of the government, which can be called as the local self-government body. Like in India, we call it as the local self-government body. In some of the countries, there may be some other form of the government. Like we talk about the Belgium, there is another form of the government that is called the community government. So it means that power do not lie in the hands of only one government. So powers have been divided, and each level of the government has been given its jurisdiction. So this is the first thing, that is in feature there are the two or more levels of the government. The second thing is that is the different levels of the government, the different tiers of the government rule the same citizen, but their jurisdiction is different. Their jurisdiction is specified in the constitution. No government is having the authority to intervene in each others in the matters of the others. Like for example, if we talk about India, India is a country which follows the federal system. So in federal system, we know that the powers that has been given to the central government, the state governments do not have the powers to intervene. The powers that has been given to the state governments, they like the central government do not have the right or the powers to intervene. But in a democratic setup, we usually see that in order to make the government more accountable, there is a need to have the checks and balances. Checks and balances means that each tier of the government or each level of the government or even the organs of the government are supposed to keep a strict watch on each other so that they will go according to the constitution. So that is the next thing, that is in the features of federalism. We see that there are the different tiers of the government, but the different tiers of the government rule the same people. Like the central government, they rule over the people of India. The state government, they rule the same people of India in their respective states, but their jurisdiction is different. The next thing is that in next feature we see that in a democratic setup we see that especially we talk about in federalism, we see that the powers of the government are being specified in the constitution. So no government, no level of the government has the right to take any power from any of the government, which in the constitution of India is known as the direct principles of state policy, which means that the powers of the government mentioned in the constitution, they are supposed to go accordingly. They will not intervene or they will not meddle with the other levels of the government in terms of their power. So that is the second, that's the next point of the feature of the federalism. The next thing is that is regarding the changing or the modification of the law, modification of the power. So if the power of any central government and state government, that needs to be changed. But it is not only in the jurisdiction of only a single level of the government to change it. Unless and until there will be both the governments have their consent, both the governments will not consent each other, they will not agree upon, so till that the law will be not changed. So it means that if anything needs to be changed, first of all there is the consent of both the governments. So that's the next thing. The last thing is that is the courts, we can say the judiciary has the right to interpret the laws pertaining to the different powers of the state government and the central government. If the state governments that they have any power and the central government wants that power in their jurisdiction, so the courts have the authority. We can say the apex court of the country, that's the supreme court of the country, have the right that they can intervene, but within the limits of the constitution. So it means that the basic provisions of the constitution should not get disturbed. The last point, that is pertaining to this federalism, so it has the dual interest. The double interest. First, that is to safeguard the people of the country, to create the unity among the people, and the next thing, that is the first thing. The second thing, that is to accommodate the social diversity of a country, while there exists more. The people, there exists more people pertaining to the different groups. So in order to accommodate diversity, so federalism works as a guardian for the people. Thank you.